Welcome to the Modernize or Die Podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome to the Modernize or Die Podcast, CFML News Edition. It is episode 158, and it's July 26, 2022. Man, this year has snuck on by, hasn't it? I'm Gavin Pickens, Senior Developer at Ortus Solutions, and I'm joined again by Dan Card, Senior Developer for Ortus Solutions as well.
How's it going, folks? We want to thank our sponsor, Ortus Solutions, the maker of ColdBox, CommandBox, ForgeBox, TestBox, all your favorite boxes out there. We have a couple ways of saying thank you to Ortus, which include...
Yep. Buy some tickets, come to the conference, into the box. We're going to have a good time, lots of great content, and hopefully a few laughs as well to catch up with some people we know. So come join us there. You can like and subscribe our videos on YouTube. So for those watching live in the chat here, thanks for joining us. And if you guys get it after the fact, come check it out on YouTube. We've been adding chapters too to make it easier to jump around. Help Ortus reach for the stars. We want to try and get more stars and forks on our repos on GitHub. So we made a cool little tool, CommandBox-GitHub, which is on ForgeBox, and you can basically run it from CommandBox in one of your repos, one of your projects, and then it'll go and star all of the box dependencies automatically with CommandBox, which is pretty neat. And then, of course, if you're listening via a podcast, subscribe on your podcast app, leave us a review. It all really helps a lot.
It does. All right. We also have a set up for a CFCasts account. We have free. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is going to be a great day today, I can tell. Set up for a free or paid account on CFCasts. It's releasing new content every day. We have the Ortus book, the 102 ColdBox HMVC quick tips and tricks. That's located on Gumroad. It's gum.co/ColdBox tips. And I wanted to say this one for last. So I don't know if you guys do this or not, but there's a Box Life store, which I think is really great. And I love this. These are new designs we have for Into the Box this year. If you go to the top, we have this new Senora Developer, which I think is fantastic. I think it's a lot of fun. We have Senora Developer and Senora Developer. And for some reason, I just thought that was hilarious and thought it was a really cool thing. And I wanted to highlight it. But we also have sweatshirts, other merch, baby items, baby toys, bags, T-shirts.
Yep. Lots of cool stuff there for sure.
Mm-hmm. It is. I wanted to put that up there just because I thought it was kind of cool.
Yep.
And that's one of the 5 words I know in Spanish.
Only 5. That's okay.
Only 5. I'm working on it.
Cool. Yeah. 6. We like to have a little fun with this stuff too. We try to do some good stuff, but have fun doing it. If we're not having fun, then what are we really doing?
Exactly.
And then we want to thank our Patreon supporters. So we have 37 Patreons providing 100% of the fully funding, basically, this podcast and our other Modernize or Die podcasts. And then we are 44% of the way through funding our ForgeBox.io setup. So we have cloud servers and S3 accounts and free storage for up to, I think, 5 gigs a person. I don't know, some ridiculous amount of storage for all your cool community projects. So a lot of that stuff is going straight back into, basically funding all this cool stuff. And that gives us more money to do other things at Ortus. And, we like to try and build tools and do cool things, put on conferences, do webinars, so all of that helps. So thank you to each and every one of our Patreon supporters. And we'll even thank you again by name at the end of the show. So stick around and hear us badly pronounce every single one of you.
Not on purpose, just by accident.
Yeah, we even have like little guides on how to say the name correctly, but that doesn't help us. So we try.
Let's try. Well, it was really good. The other day we were watching the introduction to some speakers. The guy that was introducing really butchered a pretty well-known name. So it's like, all right, we're not the only ones. This is good.
I know. I think, to be honest, that's why Luis Mahano's video was cut a little short, because they screwed up his name. Yeah.
I wasn't going to go where I saw it, but it was yeah. What was he introduced as? Louis? He goes, it was Louis Majano or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Louis Majano, instead of Mahano. But anyway, pretty funny. But
all good.
Let's get into the news and announcements. So what do we got first?
Yep. So starting off, in case you missed it, last week was Adobe Developer Week, which may or may not have been when Luis's name was mispronounced. It was last week, July 18th through 22nd. So great content. It was back, bigger than better than ever. Monday's content, there was 3 sessions, I think, a day.
No, there was 4.
Was it 3 or 4? Okay, it was
There's
4.
four
Sorry.
most days. Yep.
Gotcha. I know Gavin, you presented last Monday, and then Luis did also.
Yep, we had Charlie right before us too, and then we had Brian Sappy afterwards. We had a great day to start it off, and it was a lot of great content. So, yep.
And the recordings are up, is that right?
Yep, the recording is up. Charlie just released a blog telling you all about it, and so Dan's going to paste a couple links in there into the chat. But yeah, so the videos are up. It's up on the on the Adobe YouTube channel as the most recent videos. I think they'll be adding a playlist here shortly, and a lot of the speakers have tweeted their slides and everything. I'm sure they'll be adding those to the descriptions very soon. But a lot of great content. If you missed it, don't worry, the videos are there. And 17 sessions total. There was a couple of days a little shorter, but a lot of community speakers, a lot of Adobe speakers. Oh, and Charlie posted the playlist right now. So last I checked, there wasn't a playlist, but Charlie's posted right as we started the show. So he's on it. So
as always.
Go. Yep. Very cool.
As always. All right. Well, also, in case you missed it, this is a great blog. This is a blog post. Maybe we'll touch on it again, but I thought this was fantastic. This really made my week last week. Brad Wood posted a blog posting on the Ortus site. How does CFML really perform compared to other languages? Okay. Now, if you've never heard of the website Tech Empower, okay, this is actually from the blog post. I've talked about Tech Empower performance benchmarks before, but I wanted to highlight them again. They're the closest things the internet has to a giant cage match between nearly every language and framework out there. There's a suite of tests, and you can pit different languages against each other. The tests sometimes take days to run. They spit up combinations of languages and frameworks and Docker containers where they're hammered with rules of traffic, and the juicy stats are recorded for sweet graphical comparisons. This, I think, was awesome. So the tests that were put up there, the top 10 results, or the top fastest were all Go, CFML, Lucy, and Adobe, which means that in this head-to-head competition, that Lucy and Adobe beat, what was it? It was Go, Django, Kotlin. Where'd we go? It was Go, Node, Groovy, Kotlin, Ruby on Rails, Laravel, PHP, and Django. Which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of cool stuff, and obviously this is responses per second at 20 updates per request and database stuff. And so it has, different frameworks and everything else. And so the Lucy bare bones versus the ColdFusion bare bones versus ColdBox running on Lucy versus ColdBox running on Adobe, there's different test cases. And there's a bunch of other stuff here too. And so, yeah, if you guys check it out, I'll post a link right here in the chat for you all. But it's pretty cool. And then obviously a few people mentioned a few other languages and frameworks and stuff. And so Brad was going to see if we can add those to the list too. But it's pretty cool. Go check it out. But, it shows that, if you put the right filters on, we compete with the best. And there's obviously a lot of different things. And every language has its pros and cons. That's the long and short of it. But if you're using it and it's productive for you and it does the job, then great for everybody. So that was pretty cool. So, we really wanted to just highlight that one again. So, very cool. Yeah.
What are the things actually on there did you post it already? Sorry, I got a little sidetracked.
No problem.
It was on there that you actually go to Tech Empower and set up your own test against this too. So if you don't believe our results, check it out for yourself.
Yep, and that was the cool thing too. Just Dockerized images running, certain code and different setups. So. And Daniel has a comment. Let's just read that. So what's crazy is the .NET Core C# is around 19,000 requests. The other dev team where I work can't stop talking about the beatdown on everybody. And so yeah, there's all sorts of crazy stuff as far as all these different languages and whatever. And I know this was the 20 updates. So if there's just first run maybe, or if it's more updates or just a ton of reads, all the results can be very different. And so there's a lot of different ways to filter that data, slice and dice. And I know a lot of people are slicing it to make their language look good, and then they're reporting that, like stats, most of them are made up and you can make them look however you want. But I thought it was pretty good because most things you're going to do, probably 10-20 updates is pretty normal for that type of thing. So it's just cool that we're not dead last, because everyone thinks we're dead or a zombie. So
you are nothing and not optimistic. Well, we weren't dead last. That was good.
Hey, Sometimes dead last is still okay, but not in this case. So.
Not in this case. We're pretty close to the front, which was awesome. Okay,
Yep.
continue on.
So a little more news and announcements. We mentioned last week, Into the Box, the in-person schedule is finalized on the website. We're getting the last few updates out for the pre-conference. That will be put on the website soon. They're working on that, and so don't worry about it. It will be updated, and countdown has begun. We're 1 month basically out from the start of the pre-conference, because remember, the conference is start of September, but the pre-conference starts end of August. So we're 1 month out for that. So it's going to be pretty cool to see all that content. We got a lot of great speakers on the pre-conference and many more at the actual conference in person. We're getting excited. So 1 month, the countdown has begun. If you haven't got your tickets, workshops are starting to fill up. Don't miss your chance there. And grab your ticket. But yeah, we're excited. Hopefully you guys can all join us there and have fun at Into the Box in Houston, Texas. Okay, so next up we have new releases and updates. So we got a new one here for CF Config. It now supports scheduled tasks for Lucy. It already supported Adobe, but now Lucy is supported.
Yeah, basically, for those of you that don't know, the open source projects that Ortus does, a lot of them are based on problems that Ortus is solving on their own. But sometimes, though, actually quite often, in addition to that, there are features that people say, I need this and I can't wait for you guys to get to it. I need it now. And they'll actually sponsor development of certain updates. So in this case, there was a support for importing and exporting scheduled tasks for Adobe, but thanks to a sponsor, CF Config now does it for Lucy, as you were saying. So you actually configure all of your scheduled tasks in your CF Config file, and they're right there when they start up, which is great.
Yep, and if you haven't seen CF Config, it works great. You don't have to actually have Command Box as your server to use it. If you have old school traditional installations of Lucy or Adobe or whatnot, you can actually run this, and it'll actually look at a directory. You can tell it where the server home is, and you can actually point it at a real thing and tell it what version that you're running against, and it can actually set passwords or do configuration or backup configuration, which is a great use case. And then we have a lot of government clients that must lock down their servers, and so what they basically do is when they spin up a new server, they load from JSON file this lockdown version of their configuration into a traditionally installed server. So whenever they set up a new VM, they use CFconfig to do that. And so you don't have to have Command Box running your servers. You can still have traditional installs and use it. And there's a lot of cool things in here, custom tag paths and event gateways and loggers and scheduled tasks and all that stuff. So really detailed, really cool, and it has configuration file support. So we love it. We use it all the time. It makes development really easy, really cool. And again, stuff like locking down servers or just pulling out your settings so you can use it, or setting the Lucy default password without having to use the txt file for the password.txt. Big lifesaver when you're trying to get things running. So CFconfig, awesome. Anyway, so thanks for our sponsor for paying for that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so that was our new releases and updates. Next up, we have webinars, meetups, and workshops. It looks like one from last week was actually canceled, wasn't it?
It was. That was the Seattle Cold Fusion Users Group. It was Leonard Daniel was actually going to be speaking on Hello Cold Fusion, kind of an introduction to the whole thing, and then also going into the spreadsheet support that's built into Adobe Cold Fusion. Unfortunately, there's a family emergency. We hope everything is okay and everything resolved itself as well as it could. And he said on the Meetup site that it should be rescheduled as soon as you can figure out when and where to do it, that kind of stuff. So stay tuned on the Meetup site for that.
Yep, very cool. Again, the Meetup site will share in the group. It's just good to sign up to those and see when things are coming up. So you get little email reminders. It's pretty cool. We have an Ortus webinar coming up really soon this week. Are you ready, Dan? Because it's you. You're going to be speaking about legacy migration follow-up using CodeBox with an existing code base. And that's going to be Dan Card presenting a follow-up to the June webinar, getting started with the legacy migration. So you want to tell us why you're even doing this?
I'm just kidding. Yes. No, I'm ready. No, yeah. The one from last month went really well. We had some great questions, and so yeah, there's a couple blog posts that are poised to go out along with it. So we'll have some blog posts, the actual webinar on Friday, and there's some code that you can download from ForgeBox as not as a module. It's like a standalone site to walk through, and we're going to look at about 5 or 6 different ways that you can integrate your existing site with a ColdBox site, with the idea of either you're transitioning over, or you don't want to transition over, you want to have maybe a subsite or something. Everything from doing a simple include to actually just to referencing your existing site, either through CFCs or through website, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that we're going to do that. And yeah, it should be fun. Come join us this Friday it's at noon Eastern, 11 Central.
Yep. And again, as you said, you have released a couple of blog posts already about that. So there's 2 out, and there's another one coming out Wednesday this week. So you'll see a little bit about that. And then obviously the webinar is going to cover it really well. And the big thing is that you're going to actually look at, you know, a sort of a good rundown, a good sort of starter for everything that's going to be included in your workshop at Into the Box. And so a lot of people come out to Ortus and say, hey, we need help with this, you know, this migration. We've got traditional legacy sort of style code, and we need help making it bigger, better, you know, or how do we even start? You know, so there's a lot of different pieces that you sort of taken into it, and I think you're the perfect person for taking on this project, and I am excited to see how this webinar goes. It was great to see the feedback from the first one, so that was really
awesome.
good.
Well,
so
thanks. A quick point though, the one-day workshop that I'm doing down at Into the Box does not necessarily have to use ColdBox. It's refactoring code whether you're using ColdBox or not. In this case, we're going to be integrating ColdBox with it, but the actual workshop that we're doing in Houston at Into the Box, it's going to be a whole day on refactoring, not necessarily just using ColdBox. Just FYI.
Cool. Good to point out. Okay, so we also have some stuff from Adobe. So Adobe obviously has a lot of stuff going on. They just had Developer Week last week, but they also have some upcoming things. So we've got a couple coming up here. It looks like one is a workshop and one is a webinar. You want to tell us about that, Dan?
Yeah, the webinar coming up. It's a one-day workshop. Sorry, I was actually posting the registration link for the thing for Friday, but you beat me to it. All right, this coming up soon in August 9th is where we're looking. 9 a.m. to 4:30. It is going to be a Cold Fusion workshop with Brian Sappy. They're basically going to look at the various facets of Adobe Cold Fusion that you need to actually build apps quickly. So I don't know if it's an introductory site or it's just kind of an introductory site, an introductory workshop. The details are just posted into the chat. You can check that out. Following that, about 9 days after that, Thursday, August 18th, that is at 10 Pacific. Hold on, I messed up these times here. The one on August 9th, is at 9 to 4:30. What is AEST?
They said it was Australian Eastern Time. They looked it up. So
okay.
Yeah.
So 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Time. Just because we have not mentioned that time zone at all in this entire podcast, we had to get that one in there too. We'd like to keep everyone guessing and bring geography really into the world of Cold Fusion as much as possible. By the way, in case you're curious, Australia next to New Zealand. Okay. So that's obviously is geared toward a different part of the world than maybe the U.S. because I don't know what time 9 a.m. is in Eastern or Central, but 9 a.m. to 4:30 Australian Eastern Time on the 9th. We are a worldwide organization. Followed up 9 days later on August 18th, that's a Thursday, at 10 a.m. Pacific, which is 1 p.m. Eastern. That's more of a U.S.-centric presentation. It's making games with Adobe Cold Fusion, and that's being put on by Mark Takata.
Yep, I'm curious what type of games he's going to make. Obviously, I talked about my little quiz game set up last week at my Developer Week spot, but it'd be cool to see what he's doing there. So, and also, if you go to the meetups.adobeevents.com, you can see a full list there, and it's listed free. I already posted the link in the chat. And, ooh, they've got more events coming up. So let me share my screen because they've just updated it. So, you'll see that there's Building Custom Adobe Connect Pods with CF 2021. So that's another webinar in September. And then in November, they have Building Native Mobile Applications with Adobe and Monakai. So that's another webinar. And then in December, right before Christmas, they're going to have a preview of Cold Fusion 2023. Okay. So, how about that, guys? It sounds like we got something coming up here. A preview of The new Cold
I'm
Fusion
really fascinated to
edition.
know what a Connect Pod is. And maybe that's an industry term that I don't know. But do you know what a Connect Pod is?
Adobe Connect is what they use for their presentations and
Oh,
Developer
of course.
Week.
I'm sorry. I didn't group it right. It's Adobe Connect, a pod Adobe Connect, not an Adobe Connect pod.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I got it now.
Yeah, Adobe Connect has these little pods, and you can make them. And Mark's done some work on those before.
Sorry
so,
about that.
Yep, that's okay. But yeah, so I'm excited about this Cold Fusion 2023. So that means that it should be released sometime next year. So as we get close towards the end of the year, maybe CF Summit will find out more about deadlines, features, etc., and betas and everything. So pretty exciting. Okay, that's a pretty big deal actually. So I didn't see all the sessions last week. Maybe they dropped some hints and I didn't catch them all, but we'll have to find out. And as Charlie says, as far as he knows, that's the first public mention of CF 2023. And seeing it's a preview in December, there goes my hopes that we may have it at the end of the year. Well, Charlie, it might be like a car, right? They release them beforehand. But
we've just taken the exact same thing. It's the model year from the year before.
Yeah, it's a preview, but I'm hoping at CF Summit we find a little bit more about it. So I'm sure they didn't mention it Developer Week last week too much, and again I didn't see all the sessions. I haven't heard anything about it either. So that might be a big announcement at CF Summit, and we'll find out more about it. But the first mention publicly. Well, there you go. If Charlie says that's the first time they mentioned it publicly, that's probably accurate.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yep. Yeah, it won't be coming out this year. Yeah, usually they have a lot of build up to it too, but
it is in time for Christmas, which is good.
Yeah, so if you slacken off before Christmas, you can tune into that webinar.
True.
Okay, next up we have the CFCasts content update. So CFCast.com is our video tutorial system. We have free and paid accounts up there, and we just released another slew of content. You want to tell us all about it?
I do. So we have a series going on by Eric, which is LogBox 101. There's a new video that came out this week. This is called the Tracer Appender. For those of you that don't know, LogBox can capture the logging from your app, and we can route where you want the logging to go, depending on the environment and all kinds of other rules and stuff. And it gets written by what are called appenders. And this one's the Tracer Appender, basically, which is using obviously like what would the equivalent be would be CF Trace. And how to hook that up and how to make it work. And that's part of that LogBox 101 series. We also have the Koding with the Kiwi series that Gavin is doing. And this is the latest one from July 15th. The guests are Will de Bruin, and they're talking about validation.
Yeah.
Data coming in from the browsers, right?
Yep. So it was a pretty good session. We had that. It was fun times. So yeah.
All right, a couple of the series. We also have the ForgeBox module of the week from the podcast. Gavin's been cutting those out and making them their own series, basically in CFCasts. So we have one new video in that. We also have one new video in the VS Code tip and trick of the week series.
Yep.
And on there.
Yeah, so we're just releasing them weekly now that we've finally caught up. So we're basically a couple weeks behind the podcast, but we're releasing those every week. So lots of cool videos there. And for those wondering, Koding with the Kiwi's taking a few weeks off as we get vacations and Developer Week and all that stuff. So we'll be back starting up in August with some of those. And then, yeah, as we progress, we may keep going with that series, or we might start a new little one like Office Hours or something else. But I like the free form of that. But all the ones are up on CFcast right now. So Patreons can see it live. If you're not a Patreon, then you've got to tune into CFcast after the fact. But they're still pretty cool. But very cool. Lots of content and more coming soon. We got more LogBox 101 from Eric Peterson. We got more Koding with the Kiwi and Friends when I get the next sessions set up. We got more of those ForgeBox and VS Code podcast snippet videos. And then we got a couple of series that I'm working on. I'm working on the Boxifying a third-party library. And Eric is working on a ColdBox Elixir series. So a lot of people have been asking about that and how to make Webpack work and do all that cool stuff. And so he's working on a series for that too. So you should be seeing those popping up here in a little while. Okay, so next up on our list, we have conferences and trainings. And Adobe Developer obviously was last week, and we had a lot of great content as we mentioned. And so those videos are up on YouTube, so go check them out. Really cool. And then if you have any questions from, like as I said, me or Eric, me or Luis, our sessions were posted up there. Our slides and everything should be included, hopefully, with that link. If not, we'll get a summary blog post out here soon as well. But a lot of great content, 17 sessions, and it's good sort of hype for Into the Box and CF Summit coming soon. And then next up this week, we have another conference going on.
Mm-hmm. It's that one. Now, this is not like the conference that shall not be named. It actually is called That Conference. We are full stack tech obsessed community of fun, code loving humans who share and learn together. They meet basically in Texas and Wisconsin once a year. This week is in Wisconsin Dells, the 25th and 28th. It's 4-day summer camp for developers passionate in learning all things mobile, web, cloud, and technology in general.
Yep, and our very own Daniel Garcia is going to be speaking, but there's some pretty cool names there. They have some cool activities and everything else. It's really family oriented, which I like. And so they have some cool events, and if you actually get like a family membership, they have events for the kids, and then they're, big water park as well.
This is at the conference they have those things? So that bring your family, they go to the water park, you go to the conference?
Yeah, well, like the water park is part of the resort that it's at, but yeah, you actually have cool little like sessions. They have just for kids and keep the kids and wife busy, or your husband if you're a coder. But there's lots of cool stuff. Like I said, I'd actually love to go. That might be something I'm going to put on my list for future years because it looks pretty cool. But Daniel Garcia is speaking, I believe, on the 28th. So Thursday this week, he's going to be presenting. He's going to be speaking on easier API development and testing using Postman, Webhook.site, and ngrok. I watched the Working Code podcast, and they kept saying ngrok, and now every time I see ngrok, I hear ngrok, and it sounds like an Angular thing. But anyway, using ngrok to enhance your workflow for tunneling, and so
I think ngrok has a much better flow to it.
Yeah, just
ngrok sounds like you all of a sudden just started like choke halfway through the statement.
Yep, and there is a command box module to help using ngrok even easier. But he's going to be speaking about that, so pretty cool. Into the Box 2022 is coming up too, so September 6th, 7th, and 8th is the main conference, so we got 1 day of workshops, and then we've got 2 days of the conference, and the week before we have the pre-conference for those attendees. You can watch online, and then take the recordings with them and watch on the planes. So there's lots of cool stuff going on there. And then what should they do, Dan?
Oh, sorry. Excuse me, guys. I'm single parenting today, and I have a video of my son downstairs, and he's literally sitting on the stove. And I'm kind of wondering if I need to intervene. It's off, but I need to know. I'm trying to decide. So forgive my attention wandering. This is a professional orientation, and I'm focused. Okay. Conference workshop. They should sign up for the workshop before it fills up. A couple of them are almost filled. Gavin just posted the conference website up there, and come and play.
Yep. Intothebox.org. Going to be exciting. Whew. Yeah. Sitting on a stove still doesn't sound that comfortable.
No, it really didn't. I'm looking over and I'm like, what on earth are you doing? But I guess he's getting out. Maybe he wanted to get a preview of what Houston's like in August. So, anyway.
Maybe.
Anyway. All right. Ortus Cold Fusion Summit Training Workshop coming up right after CF Summit. We have the ColdBox Zero to Mega Hero. We just keep upping the ante on this. We used to be just hero to hero, zero to hero, but now I get the mega hero. Talking about REST APIs, Vue.js with mobile apps. That is the October 5th and 6th after CF Summit. It's led by Luis and Gavin. The price is $799. Is that the early bird pricing? Is that still going on?
Yep, early bird pricing still going on. Again, the price, basically the suite and everything there, everything's gone up in Vegas. It's basically doubled, but we're trying to keep the price the same. So the early bird will be good. And if you sign up for CF Summit, the registration is now open for CF Summit, which is going to be October 3rd and 4th, so right before our training. You can get in there 2 days of the conference, 2 days of training for under $1,000, which is still a great price. So again, we have been trying to keep those prices down, working hard. We're trimming everything we can basically to try and make it a good price for everybody. So CF Summit's going to be fun, and we're going to be the Aria. So the Aria has these luxurious executive hospitality suites, and it's really a super nice conference room, and it has a suite built in. So we've got a kitchen area and everything, so it's just really nice for running these workshops. And so it's going to be a really cool event. So come check that out. And then we're going to be doing ColdBox, CB security, CF migrations, talking about building REST APIs and hooking them up to JavaScript using Vue.js, and then we're going to end up outputting them into like a little mobile app. So mega here, because you're going to cover a lot of cool stuff. At the end of the day, you can walk away with apps that you can actually run code, export code, and you got basically the game plan for building modern ColdBox REST APIs and all the stuff you need to do to start playing with Vue inside of something like Quasar, which I love. And so I talk about it a lot because it's a lot of value. So CF Summit 3rd and 4th, the Ortus CF Summit Training Workshop 5th and 6th. So come join us for a great week in Vegas. So. And then into the box, let's see, LATAM is going to be either December 5th or 7th. We're narrowed it down to those 2 days. We should have the information coming soon. We're spending a lot of time on Out Into the Box here in Houston, but the LATAM stuff is underway too, so we should have all that information here soon if you guys are in the LATAM area. It should be in San Salvador, El Salvador, and yeah, we're hoping to make that another successful one. I think that's the 3rd now. The first 2 are really pretty awesome. So they had, the universities were supporting it. They had a bunch of people that never seen Cold Fusion come, and everybody was excited. It was really cool. So I'm glad we can reach out and do more of that stuff. And in case you missed it, CF Camp is not going to happen 2022. So try again summer 2023. Hopefully we can get that to work. But if they're not sick of conferences yet, they've still got more, right, Dan?
We do. If you need more, if you have not quite got your fill, there are more conferences. Check out conf.tech, and it will show you basically all the conferences that are coming up that it knows about from Cold Fusion and another language that you can possibly think of. If you see something missing, go ahead and make your own contribution.
Yep, pull requests are welcome. So, very cool. Okay, blogs, tweets, and videos of the week. Well, let's start with Charlie's, and I'll share my screen for those watching. So, he's posted up there. He's got a playlist here for all the sessions, so if we go check that out here, see, I think it tells you the number total. So, yep, 17 total. Again, a lot of cool content in here. Some of my favorites, always like watching Brian class and talking about AWS. Didn't know S3 could do that. S3 is pretty cool. Now with their different pricing tiers and everything, I get so confused. But a lot of cool stuff in here. Alpine JS is in there. Some WebSockets, vanilla NoSQL, cloudy CRUD. Some pretty cool stuff. But big Cold Fusion Builder on VS Code. Sneak peek into that because that will be coming out soon, and I'm excited about that. So very cool. So thanks, Charlie, for putting that out there, getting that playlist out to us and everything. I know that's a big thing everyone's been waiting for. Actually, a lot of people have been asking, where's your video? Are you going to be posting that? I'm like, Adobe should be doing that right now. So there it is. Okay, next up, we have a blog from Benedel. And this is something interesting. He's been pretty printing his JSON using a Google JSON Java job, basically. So he's been working on this proof of concept feature flag system, basically, where he, basically dumps it as flat JSON to a text file. But he basically says it works great. Just found himself wishing the JSON file was pretty printed so he could easily debug it, and stuff like that. The serialized JSON doesn't have a pretty print feature, so he's been using Google's one. That works pretty cool. I know CommandBox has JQ built into it, I believe. If you don't have JQ normal, which is like installed outside of CommandBox, JQ inside of CommandBox has it. And I actually use that in some of my task runners to format it, which is pretty neat. But this is pretty cool if you're actually doing it from inside of the running application. So pretty neat. Shows you how to spin it up there and get it running. And pretty printing. So short and sweet for Ben. I mean, it's only like 3-4 pages long, so that is pretty short and sweet. Shows you some of the differences too. So I like the way this stuff works. JSON, I mean, when they really made those updates and we had JSON out there, and it looks just like CF script structs and everything. Life just got so much better, except for those little serialization bugs. But we won't talk about those, right? So
you can override them with your own stuff. So. They're fixable. If they weren't fixable, it'd be bigger.
Yep.
All right. So along with that, another one by Ben Adele, we have he has a blog post using multiple break statements in a single case clause in Cold Fusion. Now, here's the synopsis, or the synopsis. For the last few weeks, I've been quasi heads down noodling on a workflow that builds up complex objects using form posts in Cold Fusion. As a part of that workflow, I have a switch statement that defines some mutations on the pending object in question. The other day, my logic was getting so complicated, or was getting a bit complicated, and I went to see if I could use multiple break statements within a single case clause. Turns out it totally works, which is pretty cool. I got to confess, this sounds awesome, but I don't quite. This is one of those things I need to go experiment with it. I can't quite imagine what he's talking. I mean, I get the idea of what he's talking about. You have a switch statement, and so case one or case A, on his case, then he has multiple breaks in there based on conditions. So it's almost like, I guess, sub casing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, he's got case D, E, F, and for those who don't know, in script, you have to have a break to end that case. So case D and E and F are all actually running here until you break. And so when you break out of one of them, you'll break out of them. But he's basically got some, additional ifs in here. And it's kind of interesting. I mean, it makes sense if you're doing some shared logic between cases or whatever. Kind of interesting. I mean, I thought you could just do D, comma E, comma F, right? If you have delimiters and stuff in there, or not, maybe not. But interesting. Yeah. So
what else I think was kind of and I see what you're saying, and actually that makes a lot of sense. You're right, especially if there's like logic that applies to more than one different case. This is not in.
Oh, probably you can't do multiple cases in script, is what Scott's probably saying. So yeah, but yeah, so
isn't all this in script?
No, but I was saying, can't you do multiple cases like case D, comma E, comma F? But he's saying not in script.
Oh, I see.
This is where how you'd do that. You'd have each case separately. But I'd probably do like a
good point on this. Yeah. About halfway down it, he talks about one of the things that I absolutely love about Cold Fusion is that translating the logic from JavaScript to CF is really easy, which is true because the syntax obviously are very similar. The differences are very small when you start putting different things in JavaScript. The syntax for the equivalent in script is very similar, so it's kind of nice to be able to think in both without having to have a major brain adjustment.
Yep, and then people like Scott Steinbeck have too much free time, and they create tools that actually take JavaScript libraries and then convert them to Cold Fusion code using Babel, or I think he was talking about Babel or some other transpiler. So it transpiles one way and then back into another way. So it's pretty cool that we could do stuff like that. And obviously,
by too much time on his hands, what he means is, Scott, wow, that was a really generous, amazing thing you're doing. Please keep doing it.
No, I'm just saying, I don't know how he finds time to do that stuff too. But we all have our things that we get excited about and make time for, and it's awesome. So yeah, Scott's told me about this, and I really want to see it. So yeah, it was Babel. Yep. So it's very cool. So you guys should check that out. And Scott, you have to let us know how we can see that sometime. Yeah, and as he said, he doesn't sleep as much as he should. Yeah, trust me, we all have that problem sometimes. It catches up on you. But, yep, so that was a cool blog post. And, yeah, I mean, it makes sense, multiple breaks inside ifs. So, kind of a neat way to look at it. So, we also had a tweet from Brad Wood, and this one was kind of funny. When I read it, I just had to laugh. And so I'll share my screen for those watching. But he said, I've spent the last week climbing down into a deep, dark hole that is client cert authentication. He's got a proof of concept working in the command box now. He's attempted to claw his way back out of the hole to figure out how to get all implemented and tested. So yeah, basically he was talking about, basically direct support in command box via Undertow to use the HTTPS listener, so negotiate client certs without the need for any additional front-end web server. So he's always wanted to make command box a one-stop shop for your web server needs, and this can get rid of those additional pieces in front. And so he's adding the compatibility. But it's funny, someone down here, I think it was Nolan, says, "Yeah, I have faith in you, sir." So, so yeah, it was pretty cool. But yep, just a little fun. Again, Brad likes to dive down those holes too. So
yeah, you gotta love those projects. You're like, yeah, I dove into this. It was really good. And then it's like, well, that's good because you've been gone for 3 weeks,
Yeah, no, we all have those. I have my own little things I get sidetracked on. So, okay, so we have something by Mark Drew talking about Slim Lucy images. You want to tell us about that?
making slimmer Lucy Docker images. Basically, how to make nice, slim Lucy Docker images for your fast microservices. The past few years, I've had some requirements to turn what are essentially command line programs into small microservices. Lucy is great at making services. So to make these microservices, I lazily decided to make the most direct path and use Lucy Express. So this whole thing is basically about how we did it.
Yeah, so it's very cool. So it starts using Alpine, basically downloads Lucy, and then the Express version is pretty neat. Like, it trims out so much stuff, and then basically starts it up. And again, a lot of times you don't need as much stuff in the core, and it's kind of neat about that small little piece. I mean, what is it? It's still pretty big. 648.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No. I was interrupting you. I apologize. I was wondering. And this is a little bit. This is not a surprise. This is a surprise question. I apologize. If you can't do it right now, then that's fine. But you use both Alpine and Vue. Can you give me that quick, 2-second? What is the difference? Is it just two frameworks that do the same thing, or are they two different tools that you would use in different situations?
Well, just so you know, Alpine in this reference is not the same as the Alpine JS that you're probably thinking of. So,
okay.
Alpine JS is basically, something very much like Vue. It's, a tag. Basically you add some stuff into your HTML, and it gives it some superpowers essentially. But also, Alpine here is basically a slim version of a Linux kernel. So it's like a slim Linux install, so that you have Ubuntu, and there's a million different Linux types, and one of them is actually called Alpine, and it's really small, light, there's nothing installed, and so people use it a lot for getting started. And so
Gotcha.
It's kind of neat. You see Mark working down here, but yeah, Alpine is Alpine JS I like, because it's basically you put a little CDN in there and throw a couple of little extra attributes like you would jQuery, a little couple of extra attributes on there, put a little JavaScript in there, and it's kind of like a Vue Lite. So it's not like single file Vue files like if you've done Vue, but if you just want to make a little piece of your site interactive, the Alpine JS is great for that. So
cool. Okay.
So yeah, but this is pretty neat to see some of the things he was doing in there with Lucy. So if you guys need something tiny, now TinyBox is something that Pete Freitag has done, and I wonder what that has in it. But I know that he uses that for some of the serverless stuff too. So pretty cool. So very interesting, and I forgot to post the link to that, so I'll do that right now. I probably missed a couple of links for other things too, guys. Sorry, we're in a little funny spell, and I had my internet.
I did not do Brad's deep dark hole.
Yeah, sorry. My internet also went fuzzy, so I apologize for any buffering issues for you guys over there. Apparently the kids got on and downloaded the world or something. So, my wife just texted me, good news, there wasn't a fire.
There you go. Nice.
So yeah.
This is good. Your children are not on fire. They're just downloading things. Mine evidently is playing in the kitchen on top of the stove.
Yeah.
By the way, he is off, and he is in the living room now having a wonderful time. Okay.
Very good. Okay, well, I'm posting the next link here. Yeah. Okay, so the next one I'm going to be talking about is Zach Spitz's, and it's to do with a Redis extension, and they have this new tag called CF Distributed Lock. So if you're actually using Redis and you want to have a distributed lock over multiple servers in a cluster, this can actually help you do it. So I thought that was kind of neat, obviously people use Redis and other caching systems for clustering, and if you have a session storage and you're usually locking it, it's usually locked to just that server. So by going through the distributed lock, it'll actually lock that Redis key across the cluster, which is pretty interesting. So it's pretty cool they have that. I know that Ortus has its own Redis extension. I don't know if the CF distributed lock works in that or not. We might have to ping Brad and see, and if not, we need to add that, because it sounds like a pretty cool feature. So very cool. So cool. What do we have next?
Yeah, we have cut up another tweet by Adrian Marino. So Cold Fusion and the Joys of Null, which sounds like a really kind of a mix between a sci-fi and a Dr. Seuss book. And I love the fact that he says, when deserializing null, the value will be treated as undefined, making the key to the value exist and not exist at the same time. And this is attributed to the Hitchhiker's Guide to Cold Fusion, but it kind of does this is like Schrodinger's variable. what exactly are they talking about?
Yeah, and that's kind of a strange one. And so this guy's saying, I can't figure out why it's not working. And he created a structure from deserializing some JSON and the key list from the structure to give the keys. But two of the keys from the list, they don't seem to exist. So basically, there is a key. So in the list of keys, there is a key. But when you try and see the value of that key, it doesn't actually exist. And that's probably because the null. And so Alex has answered this. And basically, welcome to null and cold fusion. Let me explain why a key does and does not exist. So the key is there, but the result of the key is null, and therefore, if you try to see what the key value is, it's not there, but the key is there.
Gotcha.
But so B goes all the way through it. Basically, cold fusion has no native support for null, and this is traditionally because obviously the new ones do have support for null. But yeah, talking about nulls in Java, and then just working through it. But basically, if you have a null and an adjacent object, it'll actually show up as undefined, which is because undefined is what JSON JavaScript stuff sort of spits out too. It's a whole weird thing working between JavaScript and Cold Fusion with some of this. So you work through this list, really detailed.
Yeah.
Long story short,
I was this before, and I'm like, I didn't even know that Cold Fusion had an undefined. But you're right, that's the JSON rendering from JavaScript that's now being viewed in a Cold Fusion struct.
I think, and that's the thing is like I haven't even seen some of this here because he's using a lot of different pieces, and so it's really just comes down to it's kind of confusing. But sometimes you'll have to do it as null check on things to see if it's actually there and if it's actually null, and so fun. So I thought it was really good. Again, a nice, clear, comprehensive explanation. But it's definitely happened before where I've got something come in and the key was there, but it wasn't there. So I had to check to see if the key exists and then see if the value of the key was not null, because that has bit me, and not fun. But I thought it was a pretty good explanation, and I thought it was pretty funny. So I decided to share that tweet.
That's cool.
Okay, so we have a couple of extra ones from Ortus here too. So we had another one of the integrating CodeBox with existing code series, number 2, which was talking about first routes. You want to tell us about that?
Sure. So basically, this is the spinoff, or one of the spinoffs from the webinar last month. In order to talk about integrating Cold Fusion with your existing code base, I kind of started off. I started writing it about the direct integration. And then I had to go back a little bit, and I realized, well, we have to figure out or kind of explain what all the different parts of Cold Fusion are. So part 1 gives you a quick tour of all the pieces that are in Cold Fusion: routes, handlers, events, models. There's basically 8 of them is what it comes down to, and what they all do, what they are. And then in this one, this series 2, is we actually start creating them. So we actually make a first route to actually go route or root. I say it both ways. It's pretty weird.
Yeah,
anyway,
routes is the American way. Root is the English way. And
is it really?
Yeah, and we always say root, and so you call it a router, and it sounds weird, so I always call them routers too.
Yeah, first. Yes, if you know anything about Australian slang, that is an interesting way of putting it. Okay. Anyway, so we actually go through and we do some hands-on code with it. We actually make some routes, make some, and then make them work. And so this second one, we go through all the different pieces and create one. And then on session 3, we actually do what the title of the series is, which is where we start integrating the actual code with your existing code base.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I really like that. Really detailed, sort of like beginner look at CodeBox and everything. So very, very cool. And then next, I'm talking about my recap of the live stream series Coding with the Kiwi and Friends, where me and Vil talked all about CB validation, and it was a good session. We talked about some nice to haves, the way we do things, talking about validating in the handlers versus the models and both, and using validate or fail to make things more fluent and not repeat yourself. A lot of the same stuff that Luis talked about in his developer week session, just trying to make your stuff a little better. And the code is up there, and it's basically, some pretty cool little bits and pieces, and, trying to make your API just easy to read, easy to code, less boilerplate, just all that stuff. So definitely a cool little session. And like I said, I just like the open, just chit chat. How do you do stuff? What do you think about this? And bounce some ideas off each other. And I really like the way that's sort of flowing. So hope you guys can tune in if you're a Patreon, or check them out on CFCasts. So pretty cool. And then sometimes, the last couple too, we had a few more Ortus people in there, and so it's nice to be able to have like the proper knowledge, make sure I'm not making a fool of myself, which I do quite regularly, but that's okay. We learn, right?
Hey, I didn't even identify Adobe Connect on the podcast today, and then I had no idea what a time zone it was. So, dude, you're doing fine.
Yeah. All good. Okay, let's find a job. So once we get 5 for our competence from Ortus, what are we going to do? We're going to go to getcfmljobs.com, and they have 116 Cold Fusion positions over the last, I think, 6 or 7 months there. So a lot of cool stuff there, and they've got 5 new ones listed this week, right? So I'm going to share my screen for those watching. Tell us about them, Dan.
Yep. Okay. So one of them, we're going to Southern Asia. There's a job looks like with Sun Life. It is located in Gurgaon, Haryana, India. All right. So the Cold Fusion position, it's a senior specialist, Cold Fusion development. We have another one that is in Cardiff in the UK. That is with, let me actually see if I can get the company up there. It is it's in Cardiff. The company is called Tomorrow's Guides.
I wonder if these other 2 are the same. Let me see.
See what?
Let me see if the next 2 are the same. Yep, it might be. So there's a full-time position in Leeds as well. Yep. And there's a senior developer at Remote. Let's see what that one is. Tomorrow's Guides as well.
Guides too. Yep.
So they might be the same position or similar positions, but the site does scrape from lots of different places. So it's kind of interesting to see some of those. And then there's also a senior Cold Fusion Lucy engineer at Remote. And that was posted on the 20th. So yeah, 5 posts this week.
And that's with Electronic Tenant Solutions.
Very cool. And then we have some other links too, right?
Other job links, yes. So we have the Ortus Solutions website. We are, I believe, always looking. So there's ortussolutions.com/about-us/careers. And we'll put that up there. Oh, all the jobs we just talked about were on CFML jobs. We can actually post them quickly.
Yeah, I'll post that link right now, so that way they can get those. Yep, we're having a day today. But yeah, so lots of good job opportunities. If you have any job positions available, let us know. We'll add them to the list here. And if you know someone looking, there's lots of great opportunities out there. So
there's also the jobs channel on the CFML Slack team, so you can check that out too.
Yep, and Box Slack team has one now as well, so pretty cool.
Nice.
Okay, ForgeBox module of the week, and we actually talked about this one already a little bit. CF Config, we haven't covered it for a while, so I wanted to remind people that it's a great CLI library for importing, exporting, transferring, and otherwise managing CF engine configuration. So you can install it by using box install command box -cf config. It has a lot of cool features, as we mentioned some of them. But we also talked about earlier how we got a new feature thanks to a sponsor, right?
Yep, exactly. And just to reiterate, that's the whole idea about configuring scheduled tasks into Lucy from your CF config, which is pretty handy. Which also means the whole idea you put it in CF config, it's scriptable, basically in that case. And so now that support is there with Lucy.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing is if you're using command box to start up a server, it'll actually read from a JSON file automatically. It'll also look for environment variables that are prefixed the right way, and it'll actually load them directly for you too, so you don't even have to have a JSON file for it. It can just be set up in your file. But yeah, that's, again, a lot of cool features there. CFconfig works great. And it's great for your developer environment, especially if you're wanting to get projects set up. If you have all your settings in CFconfig .json and you start up your server, it's just going to have everything there for you, so you don't have to worry about, oh wait, does someone have the data source with this name, or did they call the cache this? It's just set up right. So we love it for that. And again, you don't have to use it for just command box servers. You can use it for traditional installs as well, by using the transfer feature to transfer things in or out, or even just setting it from the command line into your server, so you don't have to log into the admin, which is neat when you forget the admin password and you can't get in there. So pretty cool.
Sure.
Okay, next up, VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week. And this one is one called repositories, and Moet Singh is the one who's created this, and it gives you the ability to switch between repositories with ease.
A couple features that it has: it will auto detect repositories. I'm assuming from your Git folder. You can view as a tree or a list. You can switch between repositories, and it respects your Git ignore. And so, which are all good things. And is that basically you're in VS Code, and so you can actually just go between different. So this is different repositories. Now, that's not different branches. That's different repositories.
Yeah. So what I think it is, and again, I haven't actually installed this one. Eric recommended this one to us for today, and it's pretty new. It's only got a few installs so far. But if you can give it a folder, like maybe you say you got your dub folder on a certain drive is where all your sites are. I wonder if it'll just scan all those. So I'm gonna have to try it out and see. But Eric recommended it. And it'd be cool if you can just pick a repository and it just jumps to that. So you don't have to worry about which folder to open or whatnot. Just choose a repository. And if it keeps track of them, I mean, you can open them right there in tree or list form. So I know VS Code automatically takes your repos inside of a project. So I have Git lanes installed and a couple other Git ones. And so if I'm in a project, it'll show all my different repositories, nested inside of it. So I can go to each piece, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this one sounds like it might do a little bit more. Nice. Anything on the Q&A? Not yet. So that is our VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week. So I'll get that link in the chat for you there. And then next up,
to CFCasts as well.
Yep, and then Patreon supporters. So thank you to all our Patreon supporters. These individuals are personally supporting our open source initiatives to help ensure that great tools like CommandBox, ForgeBox, ColdBox, ContentBox, TestBox, and all our other boxes keep getting continuous development they need, because the funds for our cloud infrastructure, etc., and this podcast are paid for by Patreon. These tools like our ForgeBox and package management with CommandBox, great tools that the community uses, and we're basically paying for those things through this Patreon stuff. So really appreciate that. And then they can support us if they'd like, join up and get some of the cool perks, right?
Yep, that's so they can support us on patreon.com/OrtusSolutions. Don't forget, we have an annual membership. Pay for the year and save 10%, which is great for businesses that are budgeting and wanting to just do a year-long thing. The bronze package and up now get a free ForgeBox Pro and CFCast subscription as a perk for their Patreon subscription. So do what you were going to do anyway, which is support projects, but also get ForgeBox Pro and a CFCast training for your team, ForgeBox Pro for your team. Yep. It's a good deal.
Yep. You also get the Patreon profile badge on the community website, and you get your own private forum on the community website. We have a Patreon channel now, a private one on the Box Team Slack, so you guys can jump in there, and we announce stuff like our live streams, like the Coding with the Kiwi and stuff, and you can ask some questions in there. Don't get us wrong, like we do support the Box Team Slack, and Brad is on that in the CFML Slack like 25 hours a day, it seems. But that Patreon channel is just sort of a little separate one just for the Patreons. And then, of course, things like the live stream access for Coding in the Kiwi and Friends, that's something we just do for Patreons. So those are sort of some of the little perks, and we're going to try and add more all the time. So it's pretty cool. And then we have the community site at community.ortussolutions.com. Don't forget that's there, a lot of great content, and we try and move a lot of stuff from Slack into that, and that way things live a little longer, more search engine friendly and everything else.
Yeah, I think I saw it. Maybe it was on a different Slack, but it actually came back and said that the archiving solutions for the free channels are changing. One of the good things about the community is that it does archive a lot of the stuff from Slack, because Slack obviously is a transitory thing, and so kind of referencing it historically is always kind of tough.
Yep.
Yes, but thank you to our Patreons. We got John Wilson from Synaptrix, Brian. Forgive me. I actually heard you say something, and I was midway through talking, and I was going to stop and let you go first. And I'm at Brian. I apologize. Gideonelli from Haggerty Motorsports Reg, Jordan Clark, Eric Hoffman, Gary Knight, Mario Rodriguez, Giancarlo Gomez, David Bellinger, Dan Card, Jonathan Brett, Jeffrey McGee from Sunstar Media, Dean Motter, Vil de Bruin, Joseph Lamore, Don Bellamy, Jan Yannick, Lakshmi Tirtahadi, Carl von Stetten, Jeremy Adams, Didier Lesnicki, Matthew Clemente, Daniel Garcia, Scott Steinbeck from Agri Tracking Systems, Ben Nadell, Brett DeLine, Kai Koenig, Charlie Earhart, Jonas Erickson, and Jason Dager.
And a few
You
more.
can see forgive me. There's actually a whole other page there. Sean Oden, Matthew Darby, Ross Phillips, Edgardo Cabezas, Patrick Flynn, Stephanie Monge, John Wish, Kevin Wright, and Peter Amiri. So special they had their own page. All right.
Yep. So thanks everybody. You can see a list on ortussolutions.com/about-us/sponsors, and you can check that out there. And yeah, we hope everyone has a great week and don't mess things up as well as we have today. But the internet.
That was my role with everyone here to make imposter syndrome more accessible.
Yep.
Thanks,
do
guys.
that well. But yeah, thanks everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you all next week.
Sounds good. See you again.
Bye, everybody. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.